listening to the Ball Talk podcast with me, Ryan Bailey. This podcast is brought to you by Adapt Athletic Performance and Therapy. Head over to Instagram and give them a follow at adapt_clinic. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to leave a like, share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe or follow button as well. Without further ado, let's get straight into the podcast. So, this is episode 61 of the Ball Talk podcast, as always brought to you by Adapt Athletic Performance and Therapy. And today I'm joined by Paul Sievers. Paul, you're welcome to the podcast for the first time.
Thanks, Ryan.
No worries at all. So, Paul, before we get into talking about sports and stuff like that, there's a question that I ask everyone at the start, and it's a bit of one that might put you on the spot a small bit, but it's about your dream concert. Okay, so I've given you sort of a mental picture of your 3 favourite acts, artists, bands, whatever, dead or alive, whatever they may be, if you were to have them in one venue for one day, one after the other. There's a few now that have thrown up good ones. Mine, personally, now I'd say be Red Hot Chili Peppers, Fleetwood Mac, Oasis, probably them 3. I think Mickey Burke from Meath threw in a bit of Christy Moore and the Wolf Tones. Rap put the Spice Girls in there. So there's a few different ones going around. So what would be your 3 now?
Music isn't a big thing for me now, but I would say Pet Shop Boys. I like them. Yeah. And Phil Collins. Okay. I like listening to him. And
I think Emma Mulligan thinks so. Phil Collins.
Yeah, I like it. And I suppose I might get myself in trouble here, but I think Westlife are good. You know, I'd say that I seen them in Crow Park in a concert. I watched it now. I wasn't at a concert. I was never at a concert in my life.
Same as that. Unless you count Mike Denver as a concert now.
No,
I was never at one.
Yeah, no. So, but Westlife, doing Sligo proud. So support. Trying. I'd say Westlife would be the 3rd.
Absolutely. So just as you were saying about Sligo, so you played football and hurling for Sligo in your career. Yeah. So talk to me about dates. Maybe you don't know exact dates, but in terms of like a timeline of your intercounty career with both sports.
Well, I'm in vaccine territory anyhow, so it was back in the 90s. The football was the 90s. I'd say I made my debut maybe 89 or 90, 89 I think, in football, and it was hurling at the same time. So I'd say I was footballing for the whole 90s, maybe finished up with the footballers in 98 or 99. And the hurling would have finished up in 2008. I think I finished up with the hurlers after we won the record. I don't think I went back in 09. I think 08 would have been. So you'd be 10 years football and was it 20 years hurling? 22 years hurling. Yeah. So the good and bad days. Yeah, and as well, and sure, on top of that, you had it was a good spell for Tubber, obviously, in the hurling as well. It was a 10 in a row. 10 in a row, and then 11 out of 12. Yeah, we'd from 95 for 10 years we won 10 in a row, and we won a football in 91, and we lost. I've played in 6 football finals, the last 5 of them. Okay. Three of them by a point, and none to Tolstranda. And Eastern Hearts were always broke our hearts. Yeah. Paul Taylor. And the hurling, then we lost one hurling final, I'd say, in the early 90s, and then we won in 95, and we had 10 great years then. And we were lucky to win some and deserved others. You know yourself, the way it pans out. Yeah. Usually champions, when you're winning, you might get a lucky break or something that'll win one for you. But I know definitely a couple of finals we shouldn't have won the hurling. Tolstrand, we beat them in a final by a point one year, and the last Damon Welch the night before the match injured. The best, great hurler. He'd won more 12 or 13 points. Things like that. So, it was a busy time. Yeah. And with you'd see it now with, for example, the boys up in Correspondance with the football, that they might not come back to the Galway setup. Like there was a few years there was very few Correspondance lads in on the Galway panel. Now there's a lot more in, but it's just that constant thing of going year in, year out, all the way around, and to do it with your club, Tubber, competing at a high level in Sligo, and then to play with the football Sligo and to do the hurling as well. Like, how did your body just keep going? Were you ever bad with injuries? Never bad with injuries now, but it wasn't near as intense as it is now. You had your Tuesday, Thursday training, and your game at the weekend. Some weekends, like you'd have a hurling and a football game, you'd be just praying that the hurling game will be after the football, because if the football was on after the hurling, there's no way you'd be awful under pressure by not to be playing the hurling the day before the football. The other way around, the hurling was more relaxed, and managers would say, look, they'd be happy to. It was like back then, a football player, county footballer, was looked upon as more elite than a county hurler.
Okay.
Thanks be to God, it's on a leaving par now. Yeah. But that's the way it was looked on. And you'd all this time you'd be playing a hurling. You'd saying, I wonder will we have the footballers this weekend?
Yeah.
But with regard to training, we possibly got away a bit lighter, because the football manager would be saying, like, okay, if you have hurling this weekend, you don't have to do a certain run, and then you'd be cued, you'd be playing it off each other.
Yeah.
And so I don't think there was no massive. You wouldn't be like 5 nights a week the way it is now.
Yeah.
You'd have your 2 nights. You'd be gone 3 nights with football and the hurling, and then your game or 2 at the weekend. But that was it. It wasn't really. There was no mad gym sessions. S&C when I was playing with steak and chips after that, and that kind of way. There was way less, we say, pressure on you, and but the football was more intense.
Just on that as well, like you're saying how playing, like managers and that giving you the chance to play both and kind of give them an even sort of even time at football and hurling. It's a lot easier to do that as well when you're competing at a high level in both, like whether it be within your county and the Sligo hurlers and Sligo footballers competing at a similar level as well. Yeah,
like back then in the hurling there was no record ring, them tiered competitions. So we were basically the league, and maybe there was a Connacht Junior Championship, then All Ireland B or All Ireland Junior Championship. The football then, it was we were in a Connacht final in 97, and that's got the word Mayo beat us above, and Mickey Moran had come down, and I know he was told you wouldn't be. I'd say that possibly could have cost me a place on a team.
Okay.
I found that an outside manager coming in, and it's probably still to the day, would have less tolerance for a dual player, because he's in there to do his job for 2 or 3 years. He's out.
Yeah.
Whereas we say a local manager, it'd have long term the county at heart. I see Paul Taylor did it last year with the dual stars, the dual players, and that's what I would think. But look, it's a different era, and at the same time, would you swap any of it? No. I know definitely people would be saying if you could have concentrated on one or more, on the football more, or the hurling more, but you make memories doing both, and that's the way I'd kind of. I'd look at it,
Yeah, because when you look at Sligo now as well, it's interesting. You got 2 outside managers in Pádraig and Tony McEntee as well, and they've both got to turn around and say, like for the example there is you see with the footballers, you got Mikey Gordon and Ryan Feely and Conor Griffin, them 3 to stand out anyways that could go and play hurling.
Yeah.
And then you got Niall Feely who was in with the footballers this year, and so is Jared Kelly Lynch.
Yeah.
So just to add on to your point, that the managers coming in from an outside, I'm here for a certain amount of time. I need the best players that I can possibly get.
Big time, and they have to do their job, and you can't argue with that. Now, in saying that, this year is an exception with the pandemic and everything. So I can understand the argument that this year, within such a short space of time with the competitions, that is near impossible to do. But in general terms, forget about pandemics and ordinary kind of stuff. My idea of it now, I be classed as old school, so I sometimes the likes of David Kelly be laughing at me when I'd be rising, but science joined sport joined science, and all this kind of stuff. But it's the training is what kills lads. It's not the games, and that's why with the workload county teams have now, that's where it's the training workload is the hindrance to playing both. Games, no, maybe a better clash with fixtures, but the workload of training, and your all your different strength and conditioning, your stats analysis, all that kind of stuff, and that's where I think the problem comes in. And maybe. I see Jared Kelly Lynch there now, and a couple of people said to me, since he's committed to the hurling, and he hasn't the football to worry about, he's playing better. I don't think so. He's just a brilliant hurler, and I think if he was still playing football, he'd be still doing what he's doing on the hurling pitch.
Yeah.
But would he have been available for Sligo last Saturday if he had to go to Louth on Sunday? That's where the problem rises.
Yeah.
And like, it's not fair on him if he was doing that. Like, he's put in a position, but you know, he's chosen, and everyone is delighted he's chosen it. Now the 3 lads that are gone to the football, fair play to them and the best luck to them, but they're a big loss to the hurling. But just in the year that's in it, I can understand why the decision has been made this year. But going forward, you know, it's something that could be tried to work out.
Could we look at, yeah, because like dual players, it's I had a few people kind of putting in questions and saying it's a point that we should raise as dual players that die in art. And I'm just going to ask you, if Paul Seavers was the age now of Jared O'Kelly-Lynch, let's say 24, 25, 26 years of age, regardless of the position the Sligo hurlers are in and the Sligo footballers are in, where would you go? Would you still try and do both, or would you, if you had to pick one?
I don't know. Well, if I was picking one, it'd be the hurling, but I would try and do both insofar as like that'd be what you'd be relaying to the football manager. And if you're good enough and you're important enough, you can kind of tell the manager that. But I think this is where players probably need to be a little bit stronger. And I know a certain dual player in the past told the manager, well, look, I'm prepared to play the two, but if you don't want me playing hurling, well, you won't be having me on the football panel. And I know a fella that told that to a county manager, and he says, well, off you go. And a month later he rang him and asked him to come back. So, you know, just to be a bit stronger. But look, I mean, it's whatever a fella, you know, a lot of players don't like rocking the boat with managers, because at the end of the day they're making the decisions and picking the team. But it'll be a hurling one for me anyway. Yeah.
And speaking of Sligo hurling at the moment, it's something that I saw a piece in the Weekender there a few weeks ago. There's been not just the senior success, but looking at the underage success and under 16 or 17 level, it's something that has just gone up the ways, and it looks like it's going to continue that way as well.
Yeah. And
we've covered a couple of games of Sligo hurling. It just seems to get better and better every time. The last few weeks, the lads that have really stood out, the likes of Jared O'Kelly-Lynch and Rory McHugh, as always, it's serious to watch.
You know, I mean, number one, you have 6 senior clubs in Sligo, which is great. So automatically you have, we'll say, 6 clubs of 20, 23 on a panel. So that's, you have 140 lads to pick from nearly for a county squad. You know, you saw the last day there, young Darragh Cawley come on, started his first game, and he was brilliant. Tomás Cawley, corner forward for Eastkeek, came on in the county final last year, got a winning point. You see subs coming on, getting scores. Like from back in our day, you'd be bringing on a couple of subs and it'd be nearly just like you wouldn't normally have that quality of a sub. Now, in latter years you would have, but back some days we went off to league games and you might have only 17 or 18. And not belittling anyone, but like you'd be struggling to you'd have maybe a core of 10 good or 11 good players, and then you'd be going down the list, you'd be just seeing who comes some days. So I remember going after some league games and you'd be wondering, would we have a squad? But it got more professional as we moved along, and but with the way the count, like Eastkeek and Western Gales coming on stream has been enormous for Sligo hurling. And the younger lads coming through, like, you know, Rory the McHughes, you have Daniel Rolston, Finney and Cawley, Tomás Cawley, and James Weir. Like, James Weir was on a all-star trip back a couple of years ago, and you know, at Donegal, fella Declan Coulter got man of the match in it. Yeah. If there was no tiers, would they be in them competitions? They wouldn't. That's true, So, you know, it's brilliant, and they're a great team to watch, and they're very, very, you know, they seem a very committed, disciplined bunch, and you know, it's a joy to be able to go and watch them now play. You know, like, they play lovely hurling, and they're good. They're a high scoring team, and I think, you know, they're on a good manager, on the right track. Dahi Hand had done a great job. Derek with them, and Dara is with them, and Donald Tully. So I think, you know, they're going very well. I just hope they win out the league now. Be important for them to win the league, going into the Ring Cup. Yeah, and that's a game. So this is going on Friday. This is a game that's next week, and just looking forward to that as well. Tyrone, as we saw, they drew with
Longford, who Sligo bet, but you can't really go off that either. Like Tyrone have home advantage against Sligo.
So that's a big thing. Like, you know, there's a middle tier of hurling teams there. You know, Ring, Rackard, and some Mar Cup teams, and like they're all capable of beating each other on a given day. Like you see, Mayo beat Derry and they beat Roscommon, and yet Donegal turn around and beat Mayo. And you know, the same thing can happen. We say in Sligo's division, but I would be, you know, Tyrone is a big game for Sligo, and Tyrone are a good outfit, and they've Damien Casey's one of the best forwards in Ulster. But you know, when you're going in to be playing against the likes of Offaly in the Ring Cup, these are the games now that these are like, we won 2 in Markfitch. Now we're going up to Oma. You never get that easy in the north, and these are the games that you're really going to be. The serious question is going to be asked, and it's going to see now how far they've come on. But they have the hurling. Yeah. But they're young. The hurling is there. They're young, so I just hope that, like, you know, that that they'll deliver. It'd be great to win the league title.
It's a very young team, but it's like there's experience there as well in the youth, if that makes any sense. Like there's guys there that are playing. They might be only my age of 21, but they could be in their 3rd or 4th year playing senior into county hurling.
That's it. Like, and they've had, like, how many times have they played in Croke Park? They've won a couple of leagues. They've definitely won a league. The last league final to Longford 2 years ago. They won the league last year again, Leitrim. Yeah. They've won Maher Cup. They've won Racker. They've won the Rack. Like, they've been in Croke Park. Some of that team have played in Croke Park 4 times in the last. You know, like, that's great experience. You know, that's what you're aiming for, and to be up there competing in them games. So that's like, nothing beats competitions like that and getting the experience. And you know, there's no. But even like the last year, they brought in Derek Hawley, Thomas Hawley, 2 young lads. Just fitted into the team. They knew what to do. And like, when you're winning a game so well as Sligo were against Longford, it's awful hard for a cornerback to stand out. But yet he stood out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He stood out every time he got the ball, and their ease on the ball, and they're comfortable with the ball in the hand. They're all good hurlers, and so I just hope now that they push on and win the league, and then get ready for Offaly.
For Offaly, yeah. Let's go back a bit now. Like we've spoke a bit on the current inter-county team, and I'm kind of just intertwining some questions that people have put in as well. And one that stuck out to me was it's one that I've asked people before too, and it's about past teammates. If you were to go on the rip for a day with 3 former teammates of yours, I'm going to say 3 former hurling teammates and then 3 former footballer teammates, who would they be and where would you go?
County or club?
We'll say, well, whichever one you want.
Well, in the football anyway, I'll start with football. I'd say go again with Paul Taylor, great man. Yeah. And he actually came on a hurling trip with us back in the day. The Tubbercurry hurlers went away, and when he heard where he going, he asked could he come with us, and we had a great week with him. Football. I'd have to throw Mark Burke in there now, if he didn't start showing us videos of the American Office and Entourage and that. He's great crack, but if you say something like that, when he just out the phone, it's get out of there. Football. Let me see now. David Killorn, Spud Killorn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's. I'd bring him on the hurling one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't. There'd be 3 now I'd have, and maybe the hurling lads then. Club hurling lads, we had some great days after county finals, as you can imagine. Michael Gorman would be a good character. My own brother, but he's slow enough to go to the bar. He's good crack, but he's slow enough to go to the bar. And Reggie McNulty was our goalie for a year. So if I was going on a hurling one, I'd have to bring the whole club. The whole club, yeah. The football one, but the whole after we're in it together kind of job.
And where would you go?
Oh, Tubber. Into town. We try and get Budgie to open up. We just do a tour of the town, I suppose. Like we used to, when we won the county finals, we'd go around the town, and we always that night then would buy a frozen pizza and present the man of the match to who, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you could score 5-5 in the final, but you wouldn't get man of the match. It would be always.
Did you score 5-5 in the final?
But we never. It'd be always someone who probably made the least contribution in the match. That's kind of, but that was the spirit. There was no on that Tubber team. That's one thing I'll say. like those lads who played all kinds of county stuff and everything, but the spirit, the spirit in the team, and that was it. Everyone was equal on that, and I'd say that actually got us over the line of finals. But that'd be we'd stay in Tubber, and that'd be the crew. Yeah. So it would.
And to win that many in a row and to keep celebrating them even when you're done your 8th, your 9th, your 10th, like do they get? I'm sure they just get better every time.
Like cause there'd be certain lads coming and going. Like there was a core 7 or 8 or 10 lads. But like no, there were like because as you be going on, the games were getting tougher now. Like Collery came on stream, Keith Raymond was coming into his own then, and we were blessed to be Torrestrand and one. And we used to be too worried about Connacht Club now back then, to be honest. Like we went into Connacht, we played in a lot of Connacht clubs, and it wasn't an actual Connacht intermediate or junior back then. We used to have to play in the senior, and that was tough going. But we got to a couple of semi-finals now. We nearly made a final, but I know we always the crack was good. We always enjoyed our own company, and there was never any hassle, never messing. A good night out, and maybe a good day the next day, and away you go then. Yeah,
you'll be back into it then by the Tuesday.
Maybe with the Tuesday week. We used to always take a week off after it. Yeah, Mick Seavers and Mick Burke were our mentors, and they didn't like to put us under too much stress. Yeah. Because you don't want lads on the field worried. No,
that's the worst thing.
Yeah.
And like the week then, so would you tip around Tubber for the week, or would you venture down to Sligo?
Tubber, yeah. Sure. No, we'd be downtown there in Budgies and Foley's, Mickey Max now, or at the Forge, back in the day, and Natie's. And
everyone get twist.
Yeah. We used to go around, do the crawl, we'd come in, we'd be probably the only ones going in the place. So not them bus coming again. This is their annual day out. I know we had great crack now, and there was we actually went on a hurling holiday out with another year, and everyone made great friends. You'd be great friends and good crack, and I don't think there was never any trouble, and that's the big thing, that they wake up the next day, your head might be sore, but at least you don't have to go back in under the quilt and what did I do last night?
The fear's not calling
exactly, you. No, they were good old days, and that's what it's all about.
Exactly, yeah. Any memories in particular stick out for you?
County finals, we had some great games. We used to have fierce battles up in Tubber with Torrestrand. When we were winning finals, we used to find it awful hard to beat Torrestrand. There was such a local rivalry. Memories, in Connacht Club now, we had a great battle. Belmullet won their first title in Mayo, and we played them in the Connacht Club up here. They had Matty Murphy in charge of them, the Gawler. He was manager of Galway minors for a few years, and I remember we were 7 points down going in with about 3 minutes to go, and we got 2-1, and we bet them by a point or two in in extra time, and we went on then and played 4 roads in the Connacht semi-final, and I'd say we took the lead with about 10 minutes to go, and it looked like we might be making the senior final against the Galway champions. And 4 roads hit 4 in a row and bet us. And that was the closest we ever got to a Connacht Club final, but that would have been a big thing. And another year then there was some centenary competition. I think it was in 0-0. We won 4 rounds of it, and we actually played Sarsfields, the Galway hurling champions. We got drawn against them up on Tubber. Joe Cooney's crowd and the Hopper McGrath, and they came down. Now the rest of them 2 boys that evening when they saw. But they hammered us. But it was great to get a team like that down. They were all Ireland club champions for a good few years. Yeah. And they'd be memories that'll stick out. And the first final in '95 was a great one. Because the likes of me dad, Mick Seavers and Mick Burke were, synonymous, and they got hurling going in Tubber, and for them to see the joy on their faces the first night the first day that we won a county title, it was enough. You'd have retired happy. But then Mick Burke still, I can't believe we done 10. He'd always tell you that, but for them to get a reward like that, because it wasn't looking like we were ever going to win one. But good, great for the likes of, for people who put so unselfish to be putting their time and effort into it, and to win titles to win 10 for them then, and they're delighted. They'll always recall days.
Because it interests me. I spoke to Michael Gordon Senior after Eastkey won the hurling last year, And just even you touched on your father and Mick Burke as well. It just takes one or two to say, right, here's a hurl, and Tubber go on and dominate, and then that kind of stops, and then Calry go and dominate, and that stops. Now we see with Easky and Nivone. It's funny just the way it works, but it's difficult obviously to follow on from it then as well.
Yeah, well that's it. Like, I mean, we had, the core of our team that we won the 10 were all footballers, and like the fitness was there from the football.
Yeah.
And like we would only probably go up on a Wednesday night doing a bit of pucking or backs and forwards. We didn't train off it hard because the lads were training we were training for the football as well. But you look at like Calera have won a title, Calry obviously, Navone and now Easky. Like that's 4 different teams in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
You don't see that an awful lot around like you look at all the county teams or the county champions in all the top counties. It's nearly like St Thomas's and Galway. You have Ballyhale and Kilkenny, but it's a very healthy championship when you see different teams winning it, and that's shown now in the county team. You see,
yeah.
You're drawing off lads like that are winning titles. Like we say 4 club teams winning, and like all them lads then are. They have the competence and they have the hurling, and then like you're looking at you have to draw up a panel. Like before, Sligo would be nearly 22. Any 22 lads can we get to commit? But now, like the Sligo manager sit down, draw up a panel, and tell lads, sorry, you're not part of this. You know what I mean? You have just a great squad to pick from, or great group of lads to choose a panel from, and like it's up to, we say, Tourist Strand now and Western Gales and maybe Calry to try and come back again to kick it on again,
Yeah.
And like a healthy club championship means everything in GA.
Can you see it going in a way that, because if I'm not mistaken, Balashy Gales or out Grange direction set up another club with the hurling as well. You see it going in a way that in 10 years' time, if we're having this conversation again, we're talking about 9-10 club teams in Sligo.
Well, it'd be great, like, and you see with the county team now going so well, and there have been there's great coverage with Ocean and with live streaming, and like the footing in Sligo or any, it's the same thing now to be a county footballer as it is county hurler in Sligo or in any any of the dual counties, and that's an awful important thing. Like once upon a time, as I said, a county footballer would have been held higher. And that's not, it's just tradition. Sligo was always traditionally football. But so nowadays, when you have crowds coming back, I would expect like the likes of Grange, one thing, we let hurling slip here in Tubbercurry, took our eye off the ball. We played on so late in our years that we didn't kind of keep an eye that there was nothing coming through. And then it's awful hard to raise it again. You have to kind of raise it at ground level up. And that'd be one regret, but I think definitely you could have 8 to 10 teams in a few years' time, and as long as it's not blocked within clubs, back before you could have had certain clubs could be trying to block hurling, because like that's not an indictment. It's just when you're trying to win a football one, you're saying we don't need any distractions, and it does happen, like, but I would definitely see, like, it's gone to 6 now. It could go to 8 within 2 or 3 years.
Definitely,
yeah.
Just going back onto, and I know I'm jumping around topics, but going back onto teammates again. Is there anybody, say from your intercounty career with both football and hurling, is there anyone from the hurlers that didn't play football that you thought could have made a good footballer? And vice versa, any of the footballers that you thought he could have made a good hurler as well?
Footballers, well, going back when I was there, the other player that played both was Mickey Galvin, God rest him. He was a Sligo football captain. He was a great and brilliant hurler as well. He was I think he would captain Sligo football as well, actually. Yeah, myself and him were kind of together. It was always easier if you were going in to ask a manager, say, about getting off. There's 2 going in. Yeah. Now, like, it's hard to know, like, because I would definitely say, like we say, take for instance, we say Keith Raymond, like, unbelievable hurler. Now, he did play football, and he actually, I'd say, would have been on the county squad. He's the type of fella that I would say that if he put his mind to it, could have pushed on big time on the football. Thanks be to God, he didn't.
Yeah, just bucks that could throw their hand to anything.
Yeah, it's just one of those kind of natural. Now, it's a different story given some of them footballers are hurling.
Who would you not give a hurl to?
She's a lot of men. Yeah, there's a few lads after when we won the football in 1991. A few of them get Martins now. They were dangerous with the shoulders. How would they be like the hurleys? Or Peter Egan now, I think Peter. But lads like that. So yeah, I'd say Keith Raymond would have been a lad who, you know, I'd probably miss out on someone now. I'll probably get in trouble over, but he definitely would have been a lad that. Actually, Pat Kilcoyne wasn't a bad hurler.
Okay.
Yeah, Pat was handy.
Yeah.
He knew his job, and he'd always, as Pat says, I'll always hamper it off you because I can't hit it. But that was, you know, Pat was did a great job for us for a few years. So, but yeah, maybe Keith Raymond football wise would be one that would stand out.
Yeah, you spoke just when you spoke there about Pat playing hurling. Is it easy to get lads out playing hurling for the club? And I'm sure it is. It's easier to get lads out playing hurling for the club that would play football and not play hurling when there's success in the hurling.
Big time.
I'm sure you saw from, let's say, that first championship to maybe the 5th or 6th that you won, that there was a jump in the amount of panel members involved.
Yeah, like actually going back, Brian Kern is a serious hurler, brilliant hurler now, and in fairness, like he was a tough enough committed footballer, and he was at Sligo for years, and now Brian, one year there we were in a county final, and Brian was after getting injured, and I knew Brian was awful important for us to win in the hurling, and I remember he went up to when he was. Football will be his number one sport, you'd say, will he be less interested in being fit for the hurling? But I remember he rang me the morning of the final. He says, would you have a few slitters? I want to go up and do a bit of pucking. And I tell you, my heart just jumped to think that this is the way he was going to. And he went up the park and and his shoulder was in bits, and he went out and he had a stormer of a game. And like the minute you go into a dressing room and you see he's the likes of that lad is with you, you're automatically your stock rises.
You grow
and but yeah, like when you be out of the football, definitely you would get the snowball effect. The lads would start rolling along, and they'd never, like, you'd be telling them you don't even have to train. Just we're playing Saturday evening over in Western Gales or down in Cawley. There was never that pressure of because you're not training, you won't be on the team. But I'd say come county final day then. And you'd have a couple of, you'd have some good training. Then the two mix had to weigh up. Do I go with the lads who have been with us all year, even though they mightn't be as good hurlers as some of the football lads that have come in? Like, do you go and try and win the, do you go going home from the start, or do you try and, you had to balance that, because that can break a spirit.
Yeah.
If you're going then and a couple of lads who are on the team most of the year, playing Dermot Malloy League games, and next thing the county final comes and they're on the bench, they're saying, when the final comes I'm left sitting.
Yeah.
But that's where the juggling act had to come in, and that's the one thing that I would say that they were good at.
Yeah.
They knew how to keep you might have a fella at start, and if things aren't going well, it's easier to take them off than to put them on, bringing them on into the heat of it. And definitely little things like that make an awful difference to a fella that's been there all year.
Yeah.
When
you get that balance there as well, it's a great headache to have as well.
That's like when you're sitting down and more than we're looking at the Sligo hurling team you were saying last week, they have two players in every position. It makes an awful difference. But in a club setup, like, you don't want to be making a division in your dressing room between that. These three lads are playing football with the county or hurling with the county, and they think they're great. And this is like, it has to be all one, and your weakest link has to be your strongest link, really.
Yeah.
That's the way we would have always tried to do it, and probably not always to everyone's liking, but as much as you could. And so look at just try. The spirit is an awful big thing in anything.
Absolutely, yeah. Which you were saying there about the Ocean. You spoke about Ocean and commentary, and that we're no Neville and Carragher now. But do you enjoy the commentary? Yeah,
I do. Like especially you see when you couldn't get into games, it was you'd say, well, right, I'll have to do the commentary to get to see the game.
Yeah.
But then when you get in and you get doing it, it's good. It's good fun. Now, I still think that if you go to a match just as a spectator, you still see probably way more than, like, you know, when you're doing the commentary. And even I was with the Sligo under 20 hurlers there a couple of years ago, and I was standing on the line and I was thinking, because you don't know, you're looking in a different mindset or mind frame.
Yes.
And I was saying, I'm probably missing things that if I was above in the stand, I'd be shouting down, why aren't they doing this? And it's probably the same in the commentary, like, you know.
Yeah.
But the one thing about the commentary is you tend to be looking more at Sligo, your own team, than the opposition.
Yeah.
I think, you know, you're looking, and you're probably, if there's someone listening in from the opposing county, saying, sure, they're not mentioning our lads at all, or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, but it's, I know it is a good experience, and it's, you know, it's good to see the other side of it as well. Yeah.
You were saying you were in with the Sligo under 20s a few years ago. Was coaching something that?
I was in
like
with the under 20 was the championship. It was the All Ireland B. We beat Roscommon above in Roscommon, and then we went up to Down. Keith Raymond was actually the manager, and Liam Reedy and Colin O'Mara and myself were kind of helping out. We got a nice trimming above and down now, but they were good. Like, there's a good few of them lads that come through to the senior team now.
Yeah.
And it's, you see, it's, you're looking at the game from a different. You're not enjoying it. Like, you're looking at pressure, what moves have to be made. Whereas if you can just go to a match and sit up in the stand, and, you know, you'd probably enjoy it more. But yeah, like, it's definitely a different side. It's where we had a great win above in Roscommon, and definitely when you won, you feel mighty going into a dressing room after a game as a coach or selector that you're after, you know, winning a game. But like, you know, maybe have a go at something like that again in the future.
Yeah, yourself and Mark Burke now, the onus is on you to get Tubber back into the
hurling.
hurling.
That's, I've been on to Mark now about it, so we'll have to get start rounding up the troops now and try and get one over and on the Easkies or the Neighbours or the Collieries.
Definitely.
Again, yeah, hopefully.
Paul, thanks a million for coming on the podcast.
Thanks, Ryan.
Enjoyed that now. Yeah,
Thank
think
you.
we're good to go and wrap it up.
All right.